DC Comics isn't just about Superman smacking a monster around or Batman catching the Joker for the umpteenth time. It's more than explosions, aliens, and doomsday weapons. In each story, there is a unique drama and conflict. Whether it's a hero's identity getting exposed or watching a loved one going rogue, moments like this aren't just awkward for the characters, but for the readers too. Superheroes may have the strength to go against a colossal robot or an interdimensional entity, but that doesn't mean the protectors of Earth aren't prone to tension and confrontations amongst themselves. Moments like these usually stand out more than the big battles because they show these iconic heroes at their most vulnerable. When a hero sees a threat, they know they must do what's necessary to vanquish it. But what do you do when you find out that your sidekick is an addict? How do you react when you learn a hero may be having an affair? What's the protocol when you discover a superhero has become a killer? It doesn't matter if you can fly or if you've saved the world a gazillion times, no one is ready for these awkward moments, whether you're a superhero or not. I am Kirsten from What Culture Comics, and these are 10 most awkward moments in DC Comics history. Number 10, Power Girl tries to kill Superman. When Power Girl and Wonder Woman teamed up to fight mummies, typical Tuesday for a superhero, Diana momentarily loses her lasso of truth. As Power Girl finds it, the Amazonian princess asks her what she has planned for the rest of the day. Since a person is compelled to tell the truth while holding the lasso, Power Girl says that she's heading to Superman's fortress to kill him. Although Power Girl has been a respected superheroine for years, Wonder Woman assumes that this statement must be true, since a person cannot lie while holding the lasso. Power Girl promises that she bears no ill will to the Man of Steel and doesn't understand why she said she was preparing to murder him. The heroes eventually learn that Power Girl was manipulated by Dr. Alchemy with a post-hypnotic suggestion to exterminate the last son of Krypton. With the duo corner Alchemy, he possesses Power Girl and flies to the Fortress of Solitude to locate Superman. As Power Girl, Alchemy immobilizes the Man of Steel with red kryptonite. After the red rock turns Superman into a weird inside-out dragon thing, Wonder Woman bursts in and frees Power Girl from Alchemy's control. Number 9, the Justice League learn who killed Sue Dibny. Sue Dibny was the wife of Justice Leaguer Ralph Dibny, better known as the stretchy superhero Elongated Man. One of the darkest moments in the team's history is when Ralph came home to find the charred corpse of his wife. When the Atom's ex-wife, Jean Loring, was nearly strangled to death, the Justice League theorized that someone deduced their secret identities and was attempting to pick off their loved ones. While examining Sue's corpse, Dr. Midnight finds 2 microscopic footprints on her brain. He reasons that someone shrunk themselves and entered her brain, causing her to die from an aneurysm. Because the killer used shrinking technology, the prime suspect is the Atom. However, Palmer figures out that the real killer is none other than his ex-wife Jean. Although they had been divorced for years, Jean realised that she wanted Ray back. She used Ray's Atom suit to murder Sue and then faked her own attack, hoping it would make Ray come running back to her. It's horrifying for the readers to look at Ray's face as he acknowledges his ex-wife has murdered one of their best friends. Left with no choice, Ray had Jean institutionalised in Arkham Asylum. Number 8, Jade cheats on Green Lantern. After the Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, had his powers magnified, he became a godlike entity called Ion. Although his girlfriend Jade had lost her ability to create light constructs, Kyle was able to return her powers in an instant. Jade was overjoyed, saying it was the greatest gift Kyle could have possibly given her. After having a heart-to-heart with Superman, Kyle realises that no one should have his level of power, and so gives up his godhood. After Kyle reverts to normal, he says that he looks forward to spending time with Jade, but when he learns that the Black Circle Empire is preparing an attack on the galaxy, he heads to space to stop it. When Kyle returns to Earth several months later, he discovers that Jade is living with another man. Kyle is heartbroken, but Jade insists her behaviour was justified since he had made it clear that playing space cop was more important than their relationship. You can't help but feel bad for Kyle, since the only reason he wasn't around was because he was kind of busy saving the entire galaxy. Considering Kyle helped Jade regain her powers shortly before he left, this just makes Jade's actions even more hurtful. Number 7, Lois Lane finds panties in Superman's bedroom. Although superheroes aren't meant to be paragons of peace, we know that they have moments where they falter. But there's one person that you'd think we could all vouch for in any circumstance. Superman. He is the perfect hero. That's literally his whole thing. How could he ever let us down? Because of this mentality, you can imagine how awkward it was when his wife, Lois Lane, found the panties of Soup's ex-girlfriend in their bedroom. Okay, for anyone, this situation is pretty bad, but for Superman, it's devastating. You know what's worse? Lois found the undies in question while being confined to a wheelchair after being shot through the chest by a sniper. But we're not done yet. Just before this confrontation, the two had organised going away for the weekend to see Clark's parents. When they arrived at the Kent farm after an incredibly awkward drive, Clark and Lois learn that Lana is there too. Despite the fact that the main conflicts of this story are a psychotic Kryptonian, a muscle-bound Repo Man, and a freaking Doomsday, the passive-aggressive snide comments between Lois and Lana still manage to be the standout moment. Number 6, Batman quits his civilian identity. After Bruce Wayne was framed for the murder of his ex-girlfriend Vesper, he is convicted and sent to prison. Being one of the world's greatest escape artists, Bruce naturally escapes and heads back to the Batcave, only to be confronted by the Bat family. Nightwing, Robin, Oracle, and Batgirl ask Batman what they plan to do to prove Bruce's innocence. That's when Batman does the last thing anyone expects. He decides to abandon his Bruce Wayne persona, believing that he'd be a more efficient crime fighter if he was just Batman 24/7. He tells his teammates that he has no intention of proving Bruce Wayne's innocence, allowing society to permanently perceive him as a killer. When Robin asks if Batman killed Vesper, he flies into a rage, disgusted that his sidekick would accuse him of such a thing. Although Bruce eventually came to his senses and proved his innocence, there was a lot of tension in the Bat family for months due to Batman's behaviour. Number 5, Nia Dearden is HIV positive. Sick and tired of being abused by her father, Mia Dearden ran away from home, only to find herself being forced into a life of prostitution. While Oliver Queen was in superhero persona, Green Arrow, he stumbled upon Mia and took her in. When she headed to the doctor to get some stitches taken out, Ollie went to pick her up. As he entered the room, the consultant informed him that Mia was HIV positive. Now, this is one of the most awkward situations a person can be in, but what makes this announcement worse is how Ollie does everything in his power to give Mia the benefit of a doubt. Since she cut herself on a glass a few days earlier, he naturally assumes that she got the disease from an infected shard. Mia snaps and yells at Ollie that she obviously caught HIV from drugs and unprotected sex. She then blurts out every horrific thing that she experienced as a hooker, shaking Ollie to his core. Number 4, Batgirl turns evil. Cassandra Cain was raised from birth to be the ultimate assassin. Her father never taught her to read and write, forcing her to only learn one type of communication: body language. She knows what her opponents are going to do before they do. When Batman came across Cass, he saw potential in her and welcomed her into the Bat family. He designated her as the new Batgirl to give her a purpose in life. Years later, Robin heard rumours that Cass had murdered someone. Naturally, Robin assumed Cass was framed and so sought out the real killer. Robin was horrified to learn that not only had Cassandra carried out the murder, but she had become the leader of the League of Assassins. Robin was utterly blindsided to see Cass has abandoned everything the Bat family had given her so that she could revert to her murderous nature. Robin wasn't the only one who felt betrayed. The fan outcry from Cass's traitorous turn was so relentless the story was retconned, so Cassandra only turned evil after being brainwashed by Deathstroke. Number 3, Superman's identity is exposed. After the Hoarder Root organisation discovered Clark Kent's secret identity, they blackmailed Superman to carry out their wishes, or they would publicly out him. Superman believed exposing his identity would risk the lives of his loved ones, so he had no choice but to abide to Hoarder Root's wishes. When Lois Lane realised that Superman could commit atrocities on Hoarder Root's behalf, she revealed his identity to the world. Despite the fact Lois had nothing but good intentions, this decision ruined Superman's life. The Daily Planet fired him, his friends and co-workers turned against him, his credit cards were cancelled, and 16 lawyers filed 8 different class action lawsuits against him for Superman-related damages. Lois did her best to make amends, but Superman said that he couldn't even look at her after what she did. Number 2, Speedy is revealed to be a junkie. When Green Arrow is injured by a group of junkies, he asks his best friend, Green Lantern, to assist him in taking them down. When they discover one of the drug dealer's pads, Arrow finds his sidekick, Roy Harper, aka Speedy, amongst the criminals. He naturally assumes Roy is undercover and was in the middle of a sting to take down the drug dealers. Arrow is relieved to see Roy, worried that he may have been kidnapped since he hadn't heard from his ward in over a month. By the end of the issue, Arrow learns that the real reason why Roy was in the junkie's den was so that he could score some heroin. Arrow is so mortified that he slaps Roy and kicks him out of the house. Obviously, learning that a loved one is taking drugs is heartbreaking for anyone. What makes this confrontation worse is how Arrow didn't consider the possibility that his sidekick could be involved with heroin even when he went AWOL for weeks and was found right smack bang in the middle of a drug dealer's home. Arrow was ashamed and felt like he failed himself, not just for letting this happen, but because he didn't see it sooner. Number 1, Hal Jordan realizes that he is destined to become Parallax. Due to a time paradox, a young Hal Jordan was transported several years into the future. He lands in the present timeline when Kyle Rayner has become Hal's successor as Green Lantern. The first thing Hal wants to do is see his home, Coast City. When Hal arrives, he's baffled to see the city is gone. Kyle then explains how Hal's home was obliterated by the alien warlord Mongol. Hal was left so vulnerable and shaken from Coast City's destruction, a fear-mongering parasite called Parallax infested his mind, turning him evil. As Parallax, Hal killed his mentors, destroyed the Green Lantern Corps, murdered his friends, and nearly ended the universe. When Hal learned the sun was dying, he sacrificed himself to reignite it, saving the world. After Kyle tells him this, Hal decides to stay in the present timeline so that he can't turn evil or destroy the core. However, the heroes of Earth realise that if Hal doesn't go back in time, he won't reignite the sun. Left with no choice, Hal returns to his time, knowing that he will become the monstrous Parallax. Ironically, Hal proved himself a superhero by voluntarily turning himself into a supervillain. And there we go, just some of the most awkward moments in DC history. Let us know what your favourites were down in the comments below, and if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Oh, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten Rea from What Culture Comics, and I will see you in the next video.